We made it through the first half of winter. Huzzah. Except, like seasons don't fit into little boxes the way a calendar does. And so did your winter start in September or November? Or, we say, oh, December 21st, but we had already, at my house, we already had snow by that point. We'd already burned through half of the firewood by December 21st. And so maybe you've made it through more than half of winter, but traditionally, in some of the Northern European traditions, this is a festival of you're halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. And that goes with what you might be able to feel. I have been feeling this a little bit as sunset has changed from 4:45 to 5:30. My gosh, there's so many more 15-minute walks on my little Apple rings right now because I have that extra 20 minutes to actually do it when the sun is out. So there's a change, and my spiel. I think all of you have been here for the spiel before. Don't fall asleep, it won't be long. But our little human brains are encoded to watch the changing of the light, the changing of the seasons, and we sort of adapt whether we know it or not. We long to adapt and harmonize with these seasonal cycles. So today we will celebrate a bit of this beautiful day of Imbolc, whether you do that on the 1st with the groundhog, the prophet groundhog has spoken, and I believe there shall be more winter, or something like that. Or I forgot to look up when exactly Imbolc is, but it's 15 degrees of whatever Aquarius or something, whatever astrological sign is between those two, solstice and equinox. So around now, right around now. So in ancient tradition, they would often celebrate these 8 sacred turnings of the wheel of the year with a bonfire. Because if you've ever partied around a bonfire, you know that that's the most fun way to do a celebration. So we're not going to light a bonfire in here, but we are going to do some inner energy practices, which get to the root of that. In my understanding, these outer fire festivals are a reminder of kindling the inner life force of aspiration and passion within us, that regardless of what seasonal turning is in, that eternal flame is a constant. And we remind ourselves of that through these cyclical festivals, especially today on the day of Brigid or the day of Imbolc. So this is in the Catholic Church, this is sometimes called Candlemas, and they have their own mythology behind why it's Candlemas. But in any event, it's a day to welcome the returning of the light by kindling that light in our homes and our hearts and our hearths together. Hearths, I think that's how you should pronounce that, hearths. Okay. Today's sermon is also inspired by a couple of great books that I've been reading. One is called Wintering. Did anybody read this book? Wintering came out a few years ago. Okay, there. It's pretty good. I didn't finish it yet because I've been wintering. I got it last year. I'm still working a couple chapters a year. I think I'll be good. Another great book I got is a book titled Burnout. It leaves no mystery in the title. But it talks a lot about, it's actually quite a feminist book. I didn't realize when I read that this is for women, but it talks a lot about the social forces, perhaps under patriarchy, that contribute to some of the ways we burn ourselves out. So in that spirit, I also wanted to give us a sermon while we've still got a little winter left. I wanted to give us a pro-winter sermon. An attempt to strike the balance between rekindle the light, the fires of aspiration and love have always been in you, and let's bring them back to the fore, okay, on one hand. And then on the other hand, you've got this patriarchal society that says, okay, Christmas is over. How are you doing with your New Year's resolution? Are you going to make more money this year for your overlords who will lay you off without any notice. So we don't want to do that one. Maybe you do, I don't know. I don't want to do that one. And I also want to rekindle that light. The good news is, in my opinion, these ancient traditions, while I'm certainly not one that says, let's just go back to the ancient world where everything was okay. Maybe not. Make planet Earth great again. Probably not my slogan, but one thing they did sort of figure out that our modern world hasn't quite refigured out is a way to use natural cycles to put ourselves in harmony with some different best practices that really work for human beings. I mentioned a few weeks ago the idea of a liturgical year or a liturgical calendar. And one of the things that some of us moderns may lack is this sense that if you were in a more archaic type of church, we would do Candlemas and we would do this feast of Saint so-and-so on this day. I think they even get to wear different costumes for different times of, oh, you're in ordinary time, but now we're in, I know nothing about this, but it sounds a little bit cool. Not so much that I want to, have to wear it. I want to choose my own costume, for goodness sakes. But if we adopted a bit of that wisdom, that we could create, perhaps in UUism, there was this lifespan learning program called Build Your Own Theology. Did anyone ever get to take this program? Yeah. So perhaps we could do one that was like build your own liturgical year. It could be kind of a fun thing to do so that we understood, this is something I'm beginning to learn, that my body needs different things at different times, and it needs a way to create this sacred balance. One way to do that is to look at the seasonal cycle, where according to my Daoist tradition, which we'll be working with a bit today, in spring, you cultivate. In summer, you harvest. In autumn, you prune. And in winter, you let lie fallow. We live in a society that doesn't do much fallow. I don't know if you've noticed, even down to the point where if you get into farming, we invest more and more petrochemicals into the fields because we cannot let them lie fallow. We dig deeper wells to tapped out aquifers because we don't know the art of letting things lie fallow. We're very good at cultivating. We're very good at harvesting. I don't know if anyone has thought about pruning except for the weird, fringy, degrowth economists that no one wants to listen to. But the good news is, for a Taoist, you don't have to be a degrowth economist all year round, just half the year. In the yin times, we got to prune back. We're going to go for zero population growth. We're going to get institutionalized composting in every city. This is going to be great. We're going to do less. And then, around March 21st, you're going to march forward and you go, you know what? All that degrowth was cool, but we need to innovate. We're going to have some new solar stuff, and we're going to have a new web of satellites. And perhaps if we just understood both parts of the cycle, we could live in a more balanced way. Okay, that's my personal pep talk for you today. So today we're going to do something a bit syncretistic, which is your vocabulary word if you haven't ever gotten to savor the word syncretistic. To be a syncretist, to practice syncretism. And this is something that's quite out of vogue, even though, for good reason, even though it's what most people think Unitarian Universalism consists of. When you say universalism, they say, oh, so you practice all religions? Man, well, how big of a brain would you have to be able to practice all religions? But there's this notion like we have in these sacred symbols that are arrayed here, that there are some principles in Taoism. I think we still have a yin yang up there, and Buddhism and Vedic traditions and Islamic traditions and etc. There's something universal that where they could find a place to meet and converse, and regardless of what our individual tendencies were, we could find something for us. So today, on the day of Imbolc, I'd like to teach you some Taoist practices because they are great at this idea of harmonizing with the 5 seasons. So we're going to do a little bit of moving meditation today. And the good news is, if you don't want to move, well, then just don't. It's not going to go down on your permanent record. That's fine. But if you do, I'm going to give you a brief pep talk for why moving meditation is the best thing ever. And as well, if you have a frozen shoulder or something like that, and I'm saying, hey, go like this, we'll just do it with the one that is unfrozen. You can even, traditionally, they say you can even imagine doing it. You could sit here on the outside, and on the inside, your chi arms are both going up. So you can relate to these practices however you like. With that, let me introduce this practice to you. So the practice I'd like to share with you as a set of moving meditations comes from a tradition called the Five Animal Frolics. The Five Animal Frolics. And this is one of the oldest forms of Qigong that are known. And the fun part of it is that it seems to be near that bridge between where old, like earth-centered, indigenous, animal mimicry, sacred dance turned into systematized medical and religious practices that we came to know as the Daoist religion. So the Five Animal Frolics are basically moving meditations where, one, you get to imitate a tiger. Most of it looks like this. You're frolicking like a tiger. Then you get to imitate a deer. You frolic like a deer. Who else? Oh, a bear. That one's very slow. I mean, unless it's chasing you, then they are surprisingly fast, I hear. So watch out. The monkey. Monkey is one of my favorite ones because it does one where it like turns around and then wiggles its butt. It's really fun, but you got to wait till summer solstice for the monkey Qigong. Put in your requests now if you want me to teach it to you. Oh, and the crane. You get to soar. So they each have their flavor, and they're related traditionally to these sacred elements and seasons in this ancient Taoist cosmology. So the deer exercise is related to wintertime, and as such things often go, as I was practicing it, a lot of these traditions got lost because not only were they developed in pre-literate times, but often they were conveyed through oral transmission. And so they were specifically not written down. And occasionally when natural disasters or cultural disasters happen, then the masters who knew the oral tradition are no longer available. And all you get are the pictures of a guy frolicking. And you have to sort of put it back together. So I was doing this practice, meditating, like, this practice is so cool, wow. And what I realized, there are 5 frolics for each animal, and the deer frolics map just right onto 5 different phases of the winter season. And so what I'd like to do is we'll do the moving practice together, unless you don't want to, in which case, absolutely don't do it, for goodness sake. We'll do the moving practice together, and then we'll let that guide us into a little bit of a contemplation on that particular seasonal energy. And in Taoist format, will allow those experiments to let us know if there's an aspect of that wintertime element that needs to be bolstered in us, or aspects that are already quite strong and that we can just sort of flow along with smoothly. So does that sound like any fun to you? All right, let's try it. My brain's already half meditating. I think it's going to be so much fun. So here's numero uno. God bless you. Numero uno. Oh, and let me just adjust my screen sharing here. So the first deer exercise relates to when you first feel like it might be about to be winter. So remember, right around Halloween, if you're lucky, you'll get one of those nights when it's like crispy, cool. And for whatever reason, a meteorologist might have an answer for me, but I have come to believe that those crispy, cool nights are the ones where the stars are especially luminous. So in this first exercise, I'll demonstrate it to you. It's very simple. You get to make this little I love you hand, which any excuse to do that is probably a good idea. And what it does is it inhales up. You can try this if you want, but we're not officially doing it yet. And then it exhales down and you just touch those to your pate. And this is your deer horns. And then on the rest of your exhale, they come all the way down. Okay, and what this has to do with is this image of the deer. In many ancient cultures, they felt that a deer's antlers were like spiritual antennae, and that this like luminous white, blue, cooling light came down from the stars, and they could like channel that into their body. That's going to be you in the practice. So you can just do the motion if you want. It works pretty good, just moving and breathing like this. But what you'll do if you want to do the inner practice is, as you inhale, you try to feel that October night sky filled with luminous stars. And then as you exhale, it comes down. It's being like funneled through your antlers. And it comes down and it sort of like bathes your inner body in this cooling white blue radiance. Simple enough. Did I explain it in English sentences? Okay, cool. Let's give it a try. We'll do like 5 rounds. You can, if you want, you can stand up because some people will enjoy that, but feel free to remain seated as well. And here we go. Make this hand because I love you. And it's also your antlers, apparently. And you're going to inhale and you reach. You can make this a stretch or not. And then as you exhale, the starlight comes down, it funnels in, and you let your hands come down, and that means it's just cascading down into your body. Then go ahead and breathe at your own pace, but my pace is inhale up and exhale down, and then all the way down. We'll do just 3 more times, breathing together or on your own pace, because you want your breath to be nice and comfortable. And if you like visualizing a deep midnight blue sky with luminous, luminous stars, all that starlight funnels down into your body and washes through, and it's like it cools down any friction, anything that needs to be smooth. It's like it's being bathed in that starlight. One more time. And then bring it on down. And all the way down. And then we're just going to rest in a moment of mindful meditation. So feel free to sit or remain standing as you prefer. Just notice what kind of effect that simple movement may have had on you. Good, then let that go. Okay, feel free to sit if you want to, because we'll chat for like 3 minutes, and then we'll do the next one. Okay, feel groovy? How did that feel? What did you notice? Thoughts or insights? It's kind of fun to frolic with some antlers, man. Yeah, so you felt that kind of the good vibes flowing. What else? Did anybody like me just get really calm at the end? So this is a nice one to just kind of calm the mind. So in traditional harmonizing with the sacred seasons, we could call this type of practice. This is related to the first part of winter, and it's the part where winter is coming on, and so you begin to go in and down. If you had a burrow, not a burrow, but a burrow, if you had a burrow, This would be where you're kind of preparing your burrow. You're bringing in some leaves and some blankies and stuff like that. You're not quite in there yet, but you're coming in and down. And this is the part of ourselves where if we can learn to get quiet, we can sometimes receive some sort of inspiration. You don't have to believe in this, like the mystical force is going to give it to you, but often our own minds, when we can learn to turn off the doing part of our minds and surrender down and in, new sources of illumination will come forward. So this is the aspect of this particular phase of winter time energy. He says, letting clarity and inspiration come in and down via the art of surrender. Sometimes modernists and UUs can miss out on what like the Christian worship bands can give you, or the kirtan bands when you're singing to Krishna and Shiva and stuff like that, which is this devotional art of surrender. How are we going to get that? Well, you might do the Qigong exercise, or you might just learn to cultivate that if this is a needed strength. Okay, deer exercise number 2. So now we're entering into the actual depths of winter. And this you could think of as sort of like Thanksgiving to winter solstice vibe. And for this one, you get to make a little hoof with your hand. So this is your deer hoof. And just quickly on the sort of science of this stuff, oh, I hope that's Dr. Huatuo calling. On the science of this stuff, your hands are very largely represented in your brain in sensory motor homunculus, your hands and your face. And so your brain is often looking at what are my hands doing and what is my face doing to tell you how to feel. So this little hand gesture is telling your brain to gather, to go inward. You're not going, you're gathering and going inward. So the movement is very simple. It goes like this. You're going to inhale and then exhale. You inhale as you reach out, and you exhale as you gather in. And we emphasize the inhale, and we sort of de-emphasize the exhale. And as you inhale, you want to imagine like some blessing force from around the universe is coming in, and it's sinking all the way into your bone marrow. Inhale. Exhale all the way in. Let's do 3 more times. And 1 more time. And then let it come on down. And once again, just rest, mindful for a moment. Notice how you feel. Good. And relax. Okay, how does it feel? Groovy? Relaxing? Good? Okay. Boring? That's okay. We don't have much time left anyway, so you'll be okay. Coordinating the breath, the body, and the visualization is naturally quite relaxing. So you could almost do anything, but the movement of this coming inward actually tells your subconscious mind. There's more and more research coming out that if you do like Wonder Woman pose before you give your sermon, then you'll feel like you really deserve to be there that day. Similarly, if you make a little hoof and you emphasize your inhale and you just pretend that thriving forces want to bathe you in and concentrate into your bone marrow, you will feel as if this power of gathering inward is really happening inside of you. So this is the phase of winter where we meditate on deep quiet, and your particular skill is the skill of not needing to know. Not needing to know. So this is the skill of allowing the fields to lie fallow, Nothing's growing yet. And that's okay. It's winter time. So the contemplation you might want to apply is, are there places in your life where the next inspiration should be showing up? If you take away the should, it's just not showing up. It's fine. I need to be growing the. What if you didn't? What if it wasn't time for that? And by learning to rest and go inward, you could find the source from which the new thing would spring forth. Okay, speaking of springing forth, our next exercise is right about now. Right about now. This is the like New Year's resolution one from winter solstice to Candlemas. So we're getting it in just under the wire. And this is the deer running. So this one was deer rising. This one was deer extending, and it's like extending out to gather resources. Then the deer rising is just like when you see the sun begin to return. Okay, this one, if you can stand, let me demonstrate it. If you can stand it, what's going to happen is you still have your little hooves. One can go out to the side, but if you need to, you can hang on to a chair or something like that, and you let one hoof come up, and you come down. And the other hoof will come up. Down. It feels so good. I don't know why. So if you're just sitting, then you're just going to do the forehoof and not the hind hoof. But if you want to stand, and feel free to stand and hang on, then you can do forehoof and hind hoof together. So let's give it a try. Same hand and foot, yeah. But mess with it. See what works for you. So here we go. You're gonna take one hoof. Let's all do our. You guys can mirror me, so I'll do my right. You do your left. So let's take our left hoof, and you're gonna inhale, and hand and knee come up, or just hand, and that's the inhale. And as you exhale, it'll come back down. Then the other one, it inhales. And then it exhales. Okay, and feel free to breathe in and out here if my breath is too long. And in this one, it's almost like the sap rising in the trees. So you want to feel your sap rise. That's why we sang those sappy songs earlier. Okay, we'll try one more set. Just hands or hands and feet. It's the inhale as you come up. And it's the inhale as you come up. Good, then bring it down. And pause for a moment. And this is the good part, the aftermath. Just noticing. Okay, and relax. How about that one? Still feel good, or was this the one that was terrible yet? Okay, good. We're going hopefully for no terrible ones, but you never know. So this is like the sap rising in the trees. This is like some of these animals will start creeping out from their burrows at like that prophetic groundhog, right? This is the prophetic groundhog day Qigong. But what it teaches us is this very interesting notion. Sometimes if you were around in the 60s and 70s, you'll have heard Alan Watts' writings on Taoism as the watercourse way. And it's this unique notion that instead of creating and acting from out there, you're acting from some place that is deep within. There's this deeply consolidated energy that gives rise to our inspiration. So for the meditation, what I invite you to imagine is, what would it be like to have a source of inspiration that came up from being very well rested? This might sound mythological to some of us, but what might that be like to have actually gotten a vacation this year? and to feel motivated to help, to serve in those ways that you're called to serve from a place of deep rest and restoration. This is the notion, the feeling that this is meant to convey, that from deep within, inspiration can rise up. Now, of course, this isn't always available to us, but the teaching is that we can find these moments of winter where we can. We can do it. Sometimes the mind whirs so rapidly that even when we have time off, we can't get a moment of rest. So the notion is, well, can we do some of these breathing exercises? Did you find one that calmed your mind? That's there to give you a moment of rest. Or what does work for you? But attempting to find this source of inspiration from the place deep within, rather than the reactiveness that we often have to do of finding our inspiration triggered by something from without. So we're attempting to encode this through our body and breath. We've got two more. So we're about to enter the season of the deer ramming. The deer ramming. So in this one, this will happen from now to like halfway to the spring equinox or something. Again, they're not fixed periods. It goes like this. Here's my Kung Fu stance. I'll do it out there too for you. And you get to make these same hands, but now these are going to be your antlers this time. And what happens is you come in, and then you're going to side bend, and you ram with your antler. That's what you do when you're deer. It's fun, I hear. So, and then you in, because this is that, you're still consolidating. And then you stretch your antlers. Etc. So you can do this seated if you like, or if there's room somehow, you can stand up and get in your Kung Fu stance. And I'll come up here to do it, perhaps. Okay, ready? Does it look good? Let me see. Oh, it's springtime over there. It's working. So you inhale, you feel it into the oh no, down to the earth. And then from the earth, it rises all the way to your antler. And then inhale. Oh, it's still a little bit cold out there, bundle up. That's right. The branches on there. So why I'm talking like pirates. It's just going to be. Inhale, so it's still like driving portion. Filling you up, and you bring it all into your antler. Let's do one more set. Feel free to emphasize or de-emphasize any of the stretching parts or strengthening parts, according to your own body. I don't know it's irony to you. One more time. Don't laugh directly. Okay, then come back to the center. And float it on down. And then just rest, mindful for just a moment. See how that one feels. Okay, what do you think? Fun? Okay, they get a little fun as you go towards springtime. So it's kind of nice. So this is the notion, once again, so in our last one, it was like, what if inspiration came from being well rested? Like, I don't know, I've had these rare periods in my life where I just got to sleep as long as I wanted to. And then the eyes open on their own without a beep, beep, beep machine. It's super weird. So they're like telling us a myth about like, what if that was possible? And then building on that from this deep place inside, when it's time to get even almost a little aggressive, what if we could be doing that instead of from overbalancing ourselves from way up here, coming into that level of our marrow, of our values, of our hearts, and letting that express up and outward through our actions. Okay, last one is the deer entangling. The deer entangling. So I still haven't figured out how we're going to do this in the chair, but we'll see, because this one, it just builds on the last one. This is basically like the very beginning of spring. When winter turns into spring,
And so it starts like the last one, you go like this, and then it walks. And if you're a kung fu person, then you have. You can just take a walk. It's totally fine. So the idea is this drawing of power from the earth, and the sense that now it's time to actually meet resistance with it, because you cultivated your capacity to be inward, to be resourced, to remain your values, that you can actually go and push against opposition forces. So you can push with your hands a little bit, but if you can, in your seat, you could even probably go. Just get yourself a little, you want to stimulate those feet a little bit. So let's try it. Those of you who want to stand, feel free to stand. And if you've only got a little space or you're holding on to the thing, that's fine. You can just take a couple steps as you like, or even visualize anything like that. 10 on steps. So we inhale. We analyze. And don't worry about the breath, but if you're doing the full thing, you cross your step over, and it's that great lunge. And then you push. And then, oh, it's still a little bit winter, so go in. Push. Go in. So over. And push. And one more time. Back to the middle. Float it down. Rest for a moment. Notice. And relax.
Did we do it? Did we figure something out to do for that one? It's kind of enjoyable. I don't know about you, but I really like it. So you've gotten your restorative exercise in for today. Hey, and they say exercising in concert with others has these tremendous impacts on your brain health. So that's good news. But we've been through 5 phases of the winter energy, the sacred energy of the winter season, according to this Daoist tradition. I'll review them for you. If you want, you can do these movements with me just for fun as we close. So we had the deer rising and being bathed in starlight. We had the deer extending and being filled with resources to the depths, guided inward. We had the deer running, like the sap rising in the trees. And of course, we had to run on the other side too. We had the deer ramming, so engaging from that place of depth, way down into our bones. And we had the deer entangling, being able to keep that depth even when faced with opposition, staying rooted way down under the earth, way down from our core values. So just a quick introduction to the practice that I enjoy. I figured since it was just Chinese New Year, I could get away with wearing my favorite outfit and teaching you some Daoist practice. And hopefully you felt that this helps you accord with the energy of the seasons, or at least maybe giving you a fun cross-cultural education and a little breath work for the morning. The year of the water rabbit is a great time to try out these yin, watery winter time methods. Get extra rest if you can, and if you've got extra, provide it to someone else who doesn't have a chance to get extra rest. Go to therapy or yoga or chiropractic or nature or all of it. Get quiet and let the new visions whisper to you. It's almost time to let those visions bud forth. But while we've still got a few weeks of winter left, let's take this time to let our roots grow deep.